I'm here with Tsuneo Nabe Watanabe, Senior Fellow with the International Peace and Security Department of the Sasakawa Peace Foundation. Nabe-san, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, too.
As a follow-up to the interview that we conducted about a month ago, I'm hoping you could give us an update on the current status of the COVID-19 pandemic in Japan.
I think Japan at a new phase. I think Japan succeeded in flattening a peak, the infection, and avoided the overshoot so far. And I think trying to resuming the economy. And at least we can say that Japan didn't experience the serious overshooting and travel for the overcapacity of infected patients. So now new test is trying to resume the economy without causing us the second wave, so-called.
And one thing that has puzzled me about some of the international conversation around Japan's response is that often in discussions of countries that have successfully contained the pandemic, Japan is not often brought up as a successful example as, for example, Taiwan or South Korea or Germany. I wonder if you have any thoughts about why that might be the case.
The one thing is these countries you mentioned, think very effectively control the COVID-19 by the very ordinary approach, such as a massive PCR tests and I think a serious quarantine. I think Japan's case is a little bit different because due to the limitation of PCR test capacity and also intensive care units are smaller than such countries. So I think Japan concentrating on more tracking or tracing of the infected people, and the conducting test number is smaller. So many people didn't know Japan's case was successful or not. And also, Japan started a little bit slower compared to the Taiwan or South Korea. So Japan's the record is not so bad compared to the European country or United States, but compared to neighbors such as Taiwan and South Korea, Japan's the result is not better to such countries. So Japanese government cannot be proud of their success. But is a number, for example, the number of dead from COVID-19 of Japan per 100,000 people, 0.6. It's much better than Germany. Germany is 10. But compared to the South Korea is 0.5. So Japan is 0.6. Japan is a little bit worse. And compared to Taiwan is 0.02. That's much better than Japan. That's one of the reasons. I think Japan is not regarded as a model case. But at least Japan didn't use any kind of coercive measures. It's because of due to the limitation of legal preparation. I think Japan experienced a serious violation of human rights during World War II and before World War II. So traditionally, Japanese government tried to use the measure to suspend individual rights is as minimum as possible. However, Japan has been successful to contain infection so far. So of course, we don't know yet because everybody in the world is expecting the second wave. But at least Japan's the record so far is a very good model for the without serious suspending individual rights. But with education and the consensus over individual behavior, successful so far to contain infection. I think the next step for the Japanese government is really important to the good communication skill. I think some people call the strategic communication. I think trying to share the why the people really need to self-quarantine or what is a goal of the people to continue to have a very patient behavior. I think it's a more serious test if any second wave infection comes and trying to ask people again to stay home. I think the big challenge is waiting for the Japanese government.
What is Japan's current stance regarding the WHO?
I think unlike United States, Japan and probably with European countries trying to support the WHO. I think Japan shared some frustration against WHO. WHO's the order for the pandemic was too slow, and the process was opaque. However, I think WHO is functioning for the helping, especially developing country for the infection. I think that function is more important from now on. So Japanese government even increased the contribution money to WHO. And Prime Minister Abe said in the public, he has something to say, WHO, such as Taiwan issues. However, it's a time to support WHO. I think that's Japan's position. Not slightly, the big difference with the United States.
Another major issue in recent weeks and months has been, of course, the worsening relations between the U.S. and China. So from Japan's perspective, what are some of the major issues that the country is watching regarding issues relating to China?
Japan shared frustration with the United States on China's assertive action, including Hong Kong. But Japan has Japan's own trouble. I think China keeps sending law enforcement vessels to Japan's territorial sea near Senkaku Island. And I think their practice has continued before COVID-19. But I think during infection is getting serious, their practice is more assertive. For example, Chinese law enforcement vessels started to chase Japanese fishing boat in Japan's territorial water. I think that action is so frustrated. And I think China's the assertive action is not only in East China Sea, including Japanese territorial water, but also South China Sea. I think Chinese boats sank Vietnamese fishing boat. And also China declared new control in the South China Sea, I think, with new administrative quotas. I think that's the really the frustrating and also scary to the Japan and Chinese neighbor. So, and also Chinese impose a security law on Hong Kong. So Japanese government is now getting worried and concerned. So government expressed concern on China's attitude on Hong Kong. And Japan invited the Chinese President Xi Jinping. And due to COVID-19, the visit has been postponed. But now, several Japanese Diet members asked the government to reconsider our invitation to President Xi Jinping. I think situation is not so good between Japan and China. I think, of course, we are worried about the bad relation between United States and China too. So situation in East Asia is not good, unfortunately.